Mandatory overtime. It's a topic that can make people groan when thinking about it. In some of the most important jobs in the world, mandatory overtime can force people to have to stay back for extended time to take care of work. However, this unavoidability also comes with its own problems. Issues of overworking, lack of rest, and purposeful underemployment can often arise from mandatory overtime enforcement. With these issues, though, also come solutions that can help both employers and workers improve their workspace. These are some of the problems and solutions with mandatory overtime. The first issue to touch on is fatigue and the effects it can have on the workplace. Picture this: a nurse is coming off a grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital and getting ready to head home and get some rest, when all of a sudden they are asked to stay for several additional hours. Not only does it suck for the nurse, who is ready to get some sleep or quality time with their loved ones before another long shift the following day, it can also take an effect on the quality of work that they do in these mandatory overtime hours. By hour 13, 14, or 15, the nurse is feeling immense fatigue from having worked so long. While mandatory overtime is needed at times, there should be some restrictions on how long and how often important workers can work mandatory overtime. Hospitals, fire stations, police stations, and all of the other important jobs that require mandatory overtime should have systems that limit the amount of mandatory overtime hours these workers are required to work every week. This could help to limit fatigue in some of these workers, providing fresh work and an ability to keep up with the high demands of these jobs. A second issue that often arises is employers taking advantage of a limited workforce so they can avoid having to hire more workers. A major example of this is the firefighters in Polk County, Florida. These firefighters were being worked to extreme measures and often asked to stay a huge number of extra hours to support a limited number of firefighters on staff, with some shifts lasting anywhere from 48 to 72 hours. This amount is extremely dangerous, as it could often lead to major fatigue both mentally and physically. Another solution to fix mandatory overtime related to this issue and others is to join a union and strike or threaten to strike. The firefighters in Polk County formed a union and were able to get 75 new workers hired. Union striking should be more of a last resort than anything, especially for a job as important as firefighting and nursing. But it may be necessary to bring in more workers and make the mandatory overtime rules more fair with it. Another issue is the hindrance on the personal lives of people. This issue goes hand in hand with the others, as not only does mandatory overtime lead to fatigue and could be a result of greed, but it could also hurt in the personal lives of people. Whether it be a parent missing a kid's birthday, a cousin missing a family reunion, or whatever other situation, personal free time can be harmed because of mandatory overtime. Contacting lawmakers can be one solution to help solve issues of mandatory overtime as well. These lawmakers not only could put caps on the amount of consecutive hours employees can work, they could also do things like raise vacation time, pay, and other benefits to make mandatory overtime fairer for the most important workers in society. To sum it up, mandatory overtime is unavoidable, but just because something is unavoidable doesn't mean it has to be insufferable. If some of the solutions I listed today can become readily apparent, I believe mandatory overtime can be refined and improved for all workers. Thank you.